शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாபிவ சம்பிருக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே ஜகதः பிதரௌ வந்தே பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரௌ. ஸ்ரீ பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வராभ्यां நமः. कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुशरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ते सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടും ഇറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ടാത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining on this auspicious Krishna Janma Navami. It's Navami already today, but this is also an auspicious day because when we come to Krishna Avataram, we'll see that Krishna, while he was born in the midnight, in the transition point between Ashtami and Navami, by the time he came to Gokulam and people realized Krishna is born, Yashoda realized it was already Navami. So today is also, you can celebrate today also. So what we'll do, like I was just commenting, when I'll start on time. So please, everybody try to be on time for the Sunday classes, right? And I'll chant the Dhyana Stokam every time like we did today. So today what we'll do is we'll just maybe go through a quick round of introduction. This is the largest group I've had. I've had about 17 people, but this time I think we have about 20. And thanks to Krishnan ji for being the lone male other than me on the class here. We normally have 3-4 guys in the class, but not this time. I don't know what happened, but that's okay. So we'll just go around, just give a brief introduction of your name, where you're from, and kind of what got you here. Just keep it brief. So I'll just go according to who is on my screen on the top left. So Madhu, you're first on my screen.
Hari Om, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this class. My name is Madhu Ramani, and I am just, I don't know anything about Narayaneeyam, but I've been always wanting to learn. And I think I've pestered Rajeshji quite a bit with all the messages for the past 1 year to let me into the class. So I'm really blessed and grateful. And I don't have any other introduction about myself. Thank you.
Amuta. You're on mute, Amuta.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amuta Narayanan. I came to know your Narayaneeyam, like chanting last week in Lamont through Priya Narayanan. I missed that thing. I felt very sad. I always wanted to learn Narayaneeyam. I'm taking, other guru also. So I know a couple of Dasakam already. But we are all that group also, in the beginning stage. So I thought, I can join here also. So, my pronunciation will get better.
Absolutely.
That's the, yeah. Thank you for teaching me. And I want to thank Priya Narayanan also, to introduce me this group. And I'm very blessed.
Thanks, Amuta. Krishnanji.
Namaste, Swami Sharanam. I'm not surprised by, I catch with a lot of women, because all my life I'm always surrounded by women, whether my home or my work. So it is nothing new to me, and I'm very pleased and very excited to have this join this program. I happen to know Rajeshji for a long time. I'm very fascinated about how Rajeshji chant Rudram and Narayanee, and that's what really brought me in here. Like what Amuda said, the pronunciation is the most important thing. So I'm trying to learn from the best to try to understand Narayan. Thank you so much once again having us, and we really appreciate everything. One day, Guru Parambara.
Thanks, Krishnanji. Padma, I think you're Padma Ramesh, right? You're on mute. Yeah.
Sorry, I had trouble unmuting myself. Yes, my name is Padmaja Ramesh. I live in Naperville. I'm another friend of Priya Narayanan. I am also friends with Sudha Kannan, Priya Shriram, and Deepa Prakash. So they have all learned from you, and I've heard a lot of good review about how well you teach and how involved you are in this process. And thank you so much for having me join this group.
That's good. Thanks, Padma. Shubha Hari, I'm assuming. I don't see the last name there, but
yes. Namaskaram, Rajesh. Thank you so much for having me here. I am, I'm based out of the Rolling Meadows, and I am aware of the Narayaneeyam classes from last 2 years. A few of my friends have been learning from you. I think they completed the whole series. I think they must have presented. I couldn't join the Lemon Temple presentation earlier this week, and few of my other friends have joined this. So I said this is an opportunity to learn with the group. So looking forward to learning more from you.
Thanks, Shubha. Viji.
Namaskaram, Rajesh, and everyone. My name is Viji Govind. I'm from Buffalo Grove. I had reached out to Rajesh for Vishnu Sahasranamam earlier this year for my kid, and I've been actually pestering him, and finally he was nice enough, kind enough to agree to get started one soon. But this one, even though a lot of my friends have been learning Narayaneeyam and they've completed in the last cycle, it just did not click for me. I think the time was not right. But then what happened was last December, we were in Peru visiting Lima Jagannath. And I completely fell in love with that Jagannath. And then I from that point, I started exploring or researching more about Puri Jagannath. And then I wanted to add that for our Gulu, and I'm fortunate to have Puri Jagannath delivered home today on Krishna Jayanti. And it somehow happened, and Rajesh said he was going to put together this batch. I thought maybe it's the right timing and I should do it. Right? Several indicators asking me to do it, and I'm here today. Thank you so much, Rajesh.
Thanks, Vijay. Preeti?
I'm having trouble unmuting this. Namaskaram, Rajesh, and everyone. I'm Preeti and I'm from Buffalo Grove. Thank you for having me in this class and also including me at the last minute. And special thanks to Vijay. So I expressed my interest to Vijay a long time ago, I guess. And she remembered that. She looked for my name in the WhatsApp group and she found my name is not there. And then she obviously thought that I have communicated this with you, which I have not. And she made sure that I contact you, call you, make this happen. Thank you, Vijay. And I'm so excited and looking forward to learn Narayaneeyam with me. Thank you.
Thanks, Preeti. Jyoti? Jyoti, not Jyoti Dev, the other Jyoti.
Yeah, my name is Jyoti Narayanan. Thank you, Rajesh ji, for giving me this opportunity. I always wanted to learn Narayaneeyam with proper pronunciation and the meaning. And so, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Minu?
Happy Janmashtami, everyone. I actually joined the previous batch of Narayaneeyam halfway, and we completed that. And Rajesh was telling me, no, you shouldn't join this. You have already completed. I said, no, I really want to join from the beginning. So here I am back again. Thank you so much for including me again. I know you have a lot of people on wait list, and I got second chance. I feel it's a really big blessing, especially on starting on Janmashtami. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Minu. Priya Narayan.
Namaskaram, Rajesh, and Namaskaram, everyone. Happy Janmashtami. I am Priya Narayanan. I am from Naperville. I am honored and privileged to be learning Sriman Narayaneeyam from Rajesh. And I grew up in Kerala. I've lived in Kunnongalam, which is just 7 kilometers from Guruvayur. So in 1980s, I used to go to Guruvayur every day, and my Amma used to do 12 pradakshinaams inside. Nowadays, it's not, you cannot even imagine. So Guruvayurappan is very special to me. So I'm very honored and blessed to be learning. Thank you.
Thanks, Priya. Shubha Prasanna.
My name is Shubha Prasanna. I'm from Naperville. Sorry, I'm driving, so you may not, my voice may not be here. I knew Rajesh through my son Samruddh and Rajesh son Kashyap or good friend. Came to know that Narayaneeyam, like I wanted to start last year itself, but timing didn't work out. This year, night when I'm becoming an empty nester,
So Shubha, you're breaking up. I know you're driving back from Cincinnati, so no worries. You're cut off. Okay, Jyoti Dev.
I'm Jyoti Dev. I'm based out of Buffalo Grove. For me, Narayaneeyam is very close to my heart because I grew up, hearing P. Leela every day. Kesha Bhasha Dhrida. Without that, there was no mornings for us at home. So that is how I got introduced to Narayaneeyam. Wanted to learn for a long time, but happened that I learned the Sahityams I think 21-22. From then onwards, I'm chanting, but I learned as a lone student for my cousin. Now I want that satsangam and also that chanting together effect. That is what I was longing for, and that is what was blessed this Janmashtami in the Lamont Temple, and also yesterday in the Grace Lake Temple. And I want to be with the Sangam and also go through the process of the pronunciation, the proper Guru Shishya learning kind of thing with meanings and also with the disciples, that is the group. So that is what I am expecting from here.
Thanks, Jyoti.
Thank you, Rajesh, for including
Thanks.
me.
Kavita.
Yes, hi. I'm Kavita Narayan from Buffalo Grove. I come from Thrissur, so I'm kind of like very close to Guruvayur Temple. And this will be like first class that I will be attending. So I need to like learn this from with the meaning. So that's the plan. And I happen to have listened to the Narayaneeyam from when it happened in Sindhu Nayar's house. The whole crew was there, and I really loved that. And I was asking since like 2 months prior, and I was like bugging Rajesh ji since then that okay, when are you going to start the next batch? And I had been asking him since like I think July. I have sent you like a couple of messages. Okay, when are you going to start? When are you going to start? And I'm sorry about that. I know you will be starting and you will be including. Yeah, and I'm very fortunate to be part of this group. Thank you.
Sure, Kavita. I know people hear that. I know same thing happened in Devi Mahatmyam. Some people I'm not that bad in responding to messages. I do normally respond, but sometimes it's like when you're starting the class, I have to wait for some count. And then so that's what ended up happening was initially Kavita here and I think Krishnanji and the other, a few of them had reached out, Lakshmi. And then we didn't have enough people. We only had 4 or 5 people. And I generally don't go out and ask people, do you want to join? Because I feel that becomes an obligation for them. So I kind of wait till people reach out and then till we hit a count. And then I think once Viji joined and Priya Narayan joined, suddenly the class doubled in size, which is good, which is absolutely good because that gets the class going, right? So absolutely. So sorry for all of you who messaged me multiple times.
No, thank you. Thank you so much.
Sure. Harini? Harini, you're on mute. Okay, okay.
Hello everyone. Namaskaram. Sorry, my video is off. There is some glitch in the system, so I'm unable to. I tried several things. It's not working. So I hopefully by next session, my video will start working. I'm from Buffalo Grove, and thanks so much, Rajesh ji, for teaching us Narayaneeyam, and especially starting on the auspicious Janmashtami day. Thank you again. And thanks to Viji for introducing me to the group. Like you said, Viji does have a big network, and I'm sure and really thanks to Viji and Rajesh ji. And I'm very grateful to start this Narayaneeyam class with you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Rani. Padmaja? Medikundam.
My video is not.
That's okay, Padmaja. That's okay.
Okay. My name is Mohini Padmaja. Namaskaram, all of you, and Rajesh ji. I know about this class. I learned Devi Mahatmyam from Meera Ramachandran. I asked her to can join me in this Rajesh ji class. I asked her, and I think that's why I came. And Srilata Surapaneni also one of my friend. She is also suggested me to join in this class. I don't know one sloka also. I did not attend any Narayaneeyam class or any chanting. This is my first class. Namaskaram and all of you.
Lakshmi ji, Lakshmi Kamala.
Namaste Rajesh ji, namaste everyone. Happy Janmashtami. My name is Lakshmi Ramesh, and Kamala is my last name. Actually, the Paduji introduced me to this group. I'm very fortunate. And also I heard Narayaneeyam at a Hindu Mandir from a couple of years ago, and I'm hearing. So I want to join from that time. Also my who is that? My sister-in-law and everyone learning in India, I hear with them. So I love to learn that. And so fortunate. Lord Krishna showed me as a guru. Thank you, sir. Namaste.
Nalini?
Namaskaram, everyone. Sorry, I'm in the car. I came to know about Narayaneeyam through my Devi Mahatmyam friends, and they have been telling me about this for the last couple of years. but I wasn't sure if I would be able to make time to be able to participate here. Then I had the fortune to be part of the Lamans Temple chanting last 2 days ago, and I got inspired then. Then one thing led to the another. While we were chatting during that time, someone said, "Oh, Rajesh is starting a class in 2 weeks. 2 days, if you want to join, you should just message him." So then I messaged him, and here I am. So I'm more of a last minute additions. Thank you so much, Rajesh ji, for including me.
Thanks, Nalini. Lakshmi Edavalli.
Namaskaram. I am Lakshmi Edavalli and I am from Palatine. The reason I'm not even sure why I even decided that I should learn Narayaneeyam. I just happened to visit Kerala this summer and visited all the temples in Kerala, including Guruvayur. And after I visited that temple, I do not know much about Narayaneeyam also, but suddenly it dawned on me that I should learn it. I approached Rajesh ji, but I know he was busy. I didn't hear anything from him, so I was not sure. So I decided to learn it by myself. I went onto YouTube and I went through all of the 100 Dasakams and did it. But suddenly I saw this message from you saying that you were starting the class, and I decided I should learn it from proper guru and correct my mistakes of whatever I have self-learned. So I thought this is an opportunity to do that. And after I learned Rudram, I felt confident, okay, I can do it. First, I was afraid of the commitment, but yeah.
Thanks, Lakshmi. I hope I didn't miss anyone. I think that's completed everybody. In case I missed someone, please speak up. So thanks, everyone. It's all different ways people come together, right? It's all kind of Krishna's intent, right, to kind of bring everybody together. So what we'll do here, right, is about another 30 minutes, right? I'll take about 20 minutes and kind of give you all a quick background. People who have attended my other classes know, like all of you, I also work a lot on PowerPoint. So I always use PowerPoints to explain at least the initial introduction portion. So that's what I'm going to do. And we'll keep it open, right? So if you have any questions, stop me and ask, right? As we kind of going through it. So let me share here. Oops, sorry. I think I shared the wrong one. Not used to Zoom as much as Teams. Okay, hopefully you're all seeing the first slide. Okay, awesome. So before we get into any of these things, right, it's important to know why something was composed or why something was compiled, who did it, why they did it, where they did it, because it all happened for a reason, right? So it's very important to understand the significance of that before we directly jump into it. Although we are going to be going through every chapter, stanza by stanza, we're going to be explaining the meaning. Before we start, we should ask, why was Narayaneeyam even written, right? Who wrote it? Who's the author? And then more importantly, it's a Sthala Puranam, which means the significance of the place where it was written, right? So we'll kind of cover some of those topics today, right? And I'll also kind of talk through how the class is going to be, how we'll go through the class itself. So the best way to start this is you have to rewind back to the point where you all know how Mahabharata ended, right? So Mahabharata ends, and those of you who saw the Kalki movie, some fact, some fiction there, but at least one of the things that happened there was Ashwatthama kind of sends the Brahmastra, right, to kind of kill the last Upapandava who's left, right? So who is in the Garbham of Subhadra, right? So Ashwatthama sends that, and Abhimanyu's wife is there, and Uttara's Garbham, some baby is there. So this Brahmastram comes, and then Krishna comes and saves that child which is in the womb. So that child then ends up, he's born, he's called as Parikshit, because that name, the Parikshit, the way it actually comes is, this child was the only one who saw Bhagavan in his full form before he was born, right? So in the womb, nobody can trespass into the womb, but this child saw a Chakrapani along with his Chakram going around the embryo, around the womb. So because he always kept inquiring who is that person all the time, he's called Parikshit because he's always questioning. So anyway, so Parikshit is born. He is the grandson of Arjuna, son of Abhimanyu. Then Pandavas all depart for the forest, and they all eventually, they leave the earth. So this Parikshit continues to rule. At some point, after Krishna departs, Kali Yuga starts. So a lot of bad things start happening. And one day when Parikshit is actually hunting, sometimes he was, because he's a descendant and he was blessed by Krishna itself, he had everything working in his favor. But sometimes certain things come and change your life, change your destiny. That's what happens to Parikshit. He's wandering one day in the forest, about 60 years old at the time, and he goes hunting. He gets lost. He's looking for water. He's tired. He goes to a sage. The sage is there meditating. He goes and asks the sage for water, asks the sage for food. The sage doesn't respond because he's deep in meditation. Parikshit, who's been absolutely is like a Mahatma, what he does is he gets upset and angry for a fraction of a second. And what he does, he sees a dead snake lying there. He picks up the dead snake and puts it as a garland over that sage's shoulder, right? The sage's neck. The sage doesn't care. He's still in meditation. However, the sage's son, called as Shringin, so his son comes to know that somebody insulted his father. And because he's a sage's son, he was also extremely powerful. So he said, I don't care who this king is. He could be the descendant of Arjuna. He could be blessed by Krishna. But because he insulted my father this way, seventh day from today, he's actually going to be die. He's going to get bit by a snake, Takshaka, who's like a flying snake. He's going to get bit by Takshaka, and Parikshit is going to die. So when the moment the sage came to know about it, he said, that's absolutely wrong. As a Brahmana, we should not be cursing people. But he says, at least the positive thing you can do is you go let him know that he only has 7 days left. At least that's a fortunate thing he can do. So they go and let Parikshit know that he only has 7 days left. Now, if we're all told we have 7 days left, we have a bucket list of places to go. We have a bucket list of things to do. We have all the things. But Parikshit says, I only have 7 days. How do I now get myself liberated from this in 7 days? So Parikshit goes around searching. At that time, he comes across another great Mahatma, another great soul called as Shuka. This Shuka is the son of Vedavyasa. And I won't get into too much stories, but in Bhagavatam, there's a lot of background about who Shuka is. Shuka is so great that Vedavyasa considered himself inferior to Shuka. Right? That's how great Shuka was. And he did not want to have anything with it. When Vedavyasa was distributing the Vedas, he was distributing the Puranas. Vedavyasa had done all this. He wanted to pass something to Shuka. But Shuka Brahman said, I don't want anything. I'm in peace with myself. I absolutely don't want anything. Right? So that was the time, anyway, before Shuka Brahman meets. And so at that time, Vedavyasa compiles Srimad Bhagavatam because Narada comes to him and Vedavyasa says, I have compiled the 4 Vedas or broken the 4 Vedas, but that is all for the senior masses, right? The Brahmanas, everybody who chanted. For the regular people, I have compiled Mahabharatam, which is also the essence of the Vedas, but I'm still feeling so unsatisfied with my life. I feel like I have not done enough to this humanity. So Narada says the problem with all of this thing is you did not put Narayana in the center. You used him as like a side role in a movie. You did not make him the hero of the movie. Krishna is not the hero of Mahabharata, although we might say he is, but a lot of the things happen in Mahabharata without Krishna. Right? He says you should write an entire thing with Krishna in the center. Right? So then Vedavyasa compiles Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? So now the Shuka Brahman then gets knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam from Vedavyasa because that was the one thing which Shuka Brahman felt he had to learn. Although he was completely enlightened and he wanted absolutely nothing to do with the world, he learned Srimad Bhagavatam from Vedavyasa. Now, the problem with Srimad Bhagavatam, or not the problem, but the challenge with Srimad Bhagavatam is it has got 18,000 shlokas. Right? Narayaneeyam has 1,000, Devi Mahatmyam has 700, Bhagavatam has 18,000 shlokas. And it's very hard. It's extremely hard. Right? So when you think of something like this, and Shuka Brahman, he learns this, and he now wants to teach it to somebody. So when Shuka Brahman is wandering around saying, how do I want to talk more about Srimad Bhagavatam, Parikshit comes looking for a teacher who can liberate him. Right? So that's how these two meet. They meet by destiny. That is because what Lord intended, right? He wanted a great soul like Shuka Brahman to communicate. And when you're communicating Srimad Bhagavatam, you need a really advanced soul to be able to listen. You can't just keep telling it to anybody and everybody. They won't understand the value. So that's how Parikshit and Shukabrahma meet, right? And when they meet, they then spend 7 days. Parikshit doesn't eat, he doesn't drink water. All he does is he listens to Srimad Bhagavatam, he gets liberated. So that was the Srimad Bhagavatam story. Now I'll kind of connect it to where we are. So now this happened 3200 BC. Okay, so long when Krishna departed, about 70 years after Krishna had left the earth, right? That's when this happened. So now you then fast forward and then you come to 1560 AD. So in 1560 AD, at that time in Kerala, there was a person, born, and there's one nice stanza. I just chant one stanza which comes from, which talks about Narayana Bhattatri. So, Bhukhande Kerala ke Saritamika Nilam Uttare Naivana Kshetre Gavyoti Matre Punaruparinava Gramanamne Swadhamni Dharmishtad Bhattatantriat Yakila Matabhator Matrudatta Dvijendra Jato Narayanakyo Niravadahatulam Deva Narayanakyam. Talks about the history of Bhattatri. So he was born in Kerala on the northern banks of the Bharatapuzha river, on near Tirunavaya Divya Kshetram in an Agraharam called as Melpattur, and he was born into a family of Nambudri part. So because he was born into a family of Nambudris, by 16 years he was an expert in Sanskrit, he was an expert in Vedas, he was an expert mathematician as well. So all of that goes well for Bhattatri Pat. But what happens, like most people, with youth he gets distracted, right? And then eventually he gets married and all of that. Once he gets married, one day what happens is the head of the family, who's a famous astrologer, he had put this Rasi Chakra on the veranda, and he was actually looking at some Jyotish stuff. So Bhattatri Pat, I don't know how old he was, he comes and then he jumps over that, right? So at that point, the person says, what kind of a person are you? Like, you are born in the clan of Nambudri, you've learned so much Vedas, you're so knowledgeable in Sanskrit, and you're playing like a child, you're trying to jump over this Rasi Chakra, which you're not supposed to do. So he gets, scolded. So sometimes an incident like that has to happen to kind of put you back in place. So that's what happened to Bhattatri Pat. So he suddenly realized that, what a mistake I've been doing, right? I've not been utilizing my skills. So he becomes normal. So then he goes to this person is called Achyuta Pisaradi. That's the person who was doing this. And Bhattatri Pat learns a lot of things from Achyuta Pisaradi. Once so happens, Achyuta Pisaradi gets rheumatoid arthritis. So he falls sick. So Bhattatri Pat says, my guru has fallen sick. What is the guru dakshina I have to do? So because of with some mantram, tantram things, he takes over that rheumatoid arthritis from his guru onto himself. So Bhattatri Pat now has rheumatoid arthritis. And he's sitting and he's not able to do anything. And he's looking to see, how do I cure myself? So then someone suggests to him, you should go to Guruvayur. Guruvayur was already there at that time. So he says, Guruvayur, you should go to Guruvayur because you'll get cured. So now the question comes is, why did Bhattatri Pat go to Guruvayur? So we then go back, we kind of go back in time to what happened after Parikshit. So after Parikshit gets liberated, his son Janame comes to know that Takshaka bit my father. So he performs a Sarpa Yajnam, by which when he performs it, all the snakes in the world fly and fall into the fire. So he starts killing all the snakes in the world. So this Rishi, Astika Muni, comes and tells him, why are you killing all these snakes? For one snake bit your father, right? You cannot be killing all these snakes. So he stops that. But because he had killed so many snakes, he gets a skin disease all over his body. And he's not able to, Janame Jayan, who's Parikshit's son. So Janame Jayan at that point knows the importance of Guruvayur, how it was set up. The idol of Guruvayurappan who was there, which was given by Lord Krishna to Uddhava when Krishna departed. And that was the idol, and that idol was previously worshipped by Vasudeva Devaki, which was previously worshipped by Kashyapa Muni, and before millions of years ago was given by Brahma to another couple, who are, and we'll talk about some of the stories later, but it's been there for so old. So that is the idol which is there. So Janame Jayan says, I have to go to Guruvayur to get myself cured. So Janame Jayan goes there and then he gets cured. So then Bhattatri Pat decides, if Janame Jayan can get cured after killing so many snakes, right, I will also get cured when I go to Guruvayur. So that is the Sthala Puranam of Guruvayur, of why Janame Jayan went there, why Bhattatri Pat also goes there to Guruvayur. Once Bhattaripat goes to Guruvayur, then he's not able to write. He's not able to move. People are lifting him, and he's going and sitting in front of the Guruvayurappan Sannidhi, and he's praying every day. And he's wondering, how do I cure myself here? So at that point, one person comes called Ramanuja Ilutachan, and then he gives this. The Bhattaripat students go ask him, what can my master do? So he says, start with the fish. So Bhattaripat says, I'm a Nambudiri, I don't eat, I don't consume fish. And Ramanuja knows that. So he realizes that he doesn't mean literally eat fish. He says, start with the fish, means start with the Matsyavataram, and then go talk about the greatness of the Lord. So Bhattaripat, being a great Sanskrit scholar, he knew Bhagavatam in and out. So he literally took the 18,000 stanzas of Bhagavatam and condensed it into 1,032 stanzas in Narayaneeyam. So Narayaneeyam is nothing but an executive summary of Srimad Bhagavatam. Everything that is there in Srimad Bhagavatam is there in Narayaneeyam in a condensed form, right? He just explained it very quickly, but Srimad Bhagavatam talks about a lot of things. There's only one thing which is in Srimad Bhagavatam, which Bhattaripat did not write in Narayaneeyam, which is Bhagavan's Swargarohanam, Krishna departing the earth, which is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. But Bhattaripat says that Krishna has not departed, because he's sakshat sitting in front of me in Guruvayur. How can you say Krishna has departed the earth? So he says, I will not write about that, because Bhattaripat gets a darshan of Krishna, Guruvayurappan at the 100th Dasakam, right? So what Bhattaripat does is every day he compiles one Dasakam. Dasakam means 10 stanzas, although some of them may have more than 10, 11, 12. That's why it comes to about 1032. And in the 100th day, he gets a full vision of the Lord in front of his eyes. That's when some of you are saying, Agre Pashyami Tejo Nibidadharakala. So he sees a blue hue, and then in the blue hue, he sees the Guruvayurappan, and then he describes the form of the Guruvayurappan from the top of the hair to the bottom of the feet. He describes it in the 100th Dashakam. And that's when he actually gets cured, right? So that is the kind of reason of how Narayaneeyam kind of comes. Now, the importance of Narayaneeyam in this case is, it is written for those of you who've been to Guruvayur, even now when you enter into the final sanctum, if you quickly look to your left, there is a seat, there is like kind of like a plaque, which kind of says, Bhattaripat sat here and wrote, kind of close enough. Now, at that point, they did not have all these dividers and everything, right? So he probably had a direct view of the Lord, and every Dashakam was written directly addressing the Lord in first person. So he did not say, Krishna did this. He always says, you did this, Krishna. And even when, Ramavataram comes, and we'll talk through it, he says, you did this. Because for Bhattaripat, the supreme Brahman, and we'll talk in the first stanza today, is Guruvayurappan, who's Sakshat sitting in Guruvayur. So that's the kind of, the thing that's the context of why Bhattaripat wrote this. So this is a combination of, like if you go to a Michelin 7-star restaurant and you're waiting for the entree, you don't get it on the first round. You have to go through 4 other rounds before you get the entree, right? Similarly, Krishna Avataram will start only in the 37th Dashakam here, right? The first 36 Dashakams are devoted to knowing who the Supreme Lord is, all the incarnations of the Lord, what all this great Bhagavan has done, and then Krishna Avataram starts. So 9 skandams of Bhagavatam are condensed in 36 chapters, Dashakams of Narayaneeyam. The Dashama skandam of Bhagavatam, it takes 37th chapter to 88th chapter of Narayaneeyam. And then from 89 to 100 is the final wrap up. It talks about Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. It talks about all of that, little bit philosophical stuff, right? Which will actually come towards the very end. So that is kind of the quick overview. Unless anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer. And then the way the class itself will function, right? Like we said, it's going to be an hour and a half every week, Sunday. Every class will be recorded. So I know some of you may not be able to attend few classes, but they expect, so I will upload it on YouTube on the same day, send you all the link. You can subscribe to the channel. And then I will also send an MP3 of each chapter after we complete the chapter. So you can kind of practice along with it. And then the expectation is whether you attend the class or not, you're still expected to practice and come for the next class, because I will randomly pick 2 of you and then have you recite the previous Dasakam. And it's okay if you make mistakes. I'll keep correcting you for all 2 years. If you keep, so don't even worry about committing mistakes. I'll keep correcting you. Don't get upset about that either. And Minu and others who attended other classes know about that. So, we'll keep So we'll make sure that you learn it. Definitely, you need to have a hard copy because I'm going to say where to pause, where to add, join. We'll break it. The Sandhi rules in Sanskrit, we'll break it up so it's easier to chant as well. So that's kind of the general context. If you're not able to attend a class, that's okay. Just text me the previous night so I know you are not coming, so I don't look out for you and make you a student, right? That's all. Any questions? Otherwise, we can just jump into the class today. Okay, you don't have to feel shy. If anybody has any questions, you can ask. All right. So for the first class today, I'll have any two of you who want to volunteer.
I can volunteer.
Okay.
I can come if anyone come, or I can come also.
Okay, Amita, you can, yeah. So the way we'll do it as a general rule, right, is I'll chant the full stanza. I'll explain the meaning of the stanza. Then I will tell you where to break it. I will explain to you how to chant it. I'll say word by word. And then I will say 2 lines. Each of you repeat 2 times. So I think in this case, Jyoti, you're going first because you call it first. So you say 2 times. Amuda, you then say 2 times. Then we'll go to the next line, right? And if you make any mistakes, I'll tell you, I'll correct it. And you can just say the corrected word. You don't have to repeat the whole thing. Okay. Okay. So and we'll only do stanza 1 today, and then we'll stop. Stanza 1. सान्ध्यानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमितं कालदेशावदेभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानाम्. So I'll just call it another thing also, right? So about 30%, 35%, 40% of the chapters are these 4-liners, like what you're seeing right now. Those are generally hard. 60% are 2-liners, which are relatively easy. Okay, and majority of the people find the first 10 dasakams to be hard because you're getting used to it. So whoever referred you, you can give them a call and say, hey, how did you find it, right? They'll always find the first 10 dasakams to be a little hard. But once they do it, then I know so many, like Priya knows Shobha Ramesh, she's done Narayaneeyam, she's finished Devi Mahatmyam. Now she's doing Bhagavatam, right? Which is so hard because, when they all started, they all found it hard, which is natural. So you kind of have to give yourself a little bit of time. And of course, you have to put in your effort also, right? So the first stanza itself here is it's amazing stanza, and we'll always say this at the end of every class also, because what it really tells is the supreme Brahman that we talk about, right, which doesn't have any gender, which doesn't have any shape, which doesn't have any form, that Brahman is like one big kind of bliss condensed together, right? It's a state, the Brahman exists in a state of bliss all the time. And it's a supreme consciousness from which everything else comes. So if you think of that Brahman, which is kind of defined as that, because it doesn't have any, you can't say it a male or a female, he, she, or anything, it's defined as that. So that Brahman, it says, it's without any comparison. Now, you cannot compare it, because if you have to talk about something, you got to say it is like an apple, but you cannot compare the Brahman to anything because it has absolutely no comparison. It is Kala Desha Vadibhyam Nirmuktam. So today I am sitting in Buffalo Grove and it is 7:46 p.m. Tomorrow I may be somewhere else, and tomorrow you may be somewhere else, right? At a different time. But it says the Brahman is not bound by time, nor is it bound by space. So it's beyond the space and time continuum that is there. So you cannot restrict it saying that this Brahman is there at this point in time, at this place. It's not bound by that. Nirmuktam. So it is not bound, it's completely free. All of us are bound by karma, whether we like it or not. The moment you took birth, you had some karma you had to burn. That Sanchita karma, you got into this world. Then you continue to accumulate more good karma, bad karma. So because of that, including Brahma, it will say Dvipararde. After 2 parardas, which is 200 years or 100 years of Brahma's life is also over. So the Brahman, it cannot be bound by any of that. It has to be beyond that, right? Because if it is bound by that, it is under the control of something. So it says nirmuktam. It's not bound by anything. It's not bound by age or any of that stuff. And it says to explain to this Brahman what this Brahman is. Nigamam. Nigamam means Veda. Shata Sahasrana, thousands of Upanishads and Vedas have continued to explain what this Brahman is. But no matter how many people try to explain, it says it's aspashtam. It is just not, it's impossible for you to understand what this Brahman is. I can tell you Brahman is beyond time, Brahman is beyond space, Brahman is not bound by karma. But can I truly understand and realize what the Brahman is? If I was, I would have already been, I would be like Ramana Maharishi, I would have been liberated by now, right? So it's so difficult to understand what this Brahman is. However, the moment you understand that Brahman, you will get liberated. So all the Mahapariva and Ramesha, all of these people got liberated because they understood that. So they got liberated. But Bhattacharya says, why are you breaking your head with understanding what this Brahman is? He says it's okay if you don't understand. Because it says that Tattavad Bhati Sakshat Guru Bhavanapure. It says Sakshat, that Brahman itself is standing in front of me in Guruvayur as Guru Ayappan. He says there's no difference between that Brahman and no difference between Guru Ayappan who's there. And we'll go through some more later on. We'll talk about why he says that, right? But he says that Sakshat Guru Ayappan is standing there. It says Hanta. Hanta is like alas, like the ALAS with an exclamation mark. Alas, Bhagyam Jananam. It says the people are so fortunate because you don't have to worry about understanding what the Brahman is. You say, I don't want to understand what Brahman is. I'll just come to Guruvayur, I'll see Guru Ayappan there right in front of my eyes, and that is Brahman. And that's what I'm going to pray to, right? So that's the first stanza where he goes on to say, this is a Bhagavan Mahimanuvaranam. This first Dasakam talks about the greatness of the Lord, who entire Narayaneeyam is being written about. So he says that Lord who you're going to study about is no different than the Supreme Brahman, who's indescribable. You cannot understand that Brahman, you cannot comprehend that Brahman, right? So that is the meaning. I gave a long explanation because it's a very important stanza. This will again come last stanza of 99th chapter, where Bhattacharya says, I talk so much about philosophy, but at the end of the day, even though I talked about all of it, it is all there in Bhagavatam. For me, that idol form of yours who's standing in front of me is the form I can relate to. Because I can see two eyes, I can see Chaturbhujam, I can see two legs, right? I can see the Pitambaram that you're wearing, and that's the form I can relate to, and that's the form I'm going to pray. And so that's the darshan that Bhattacharya eventually got in the 100th Dasakam, right? Okay. So, Sandra Nandava Bhodatmakam Anupamitam. So some of you, if you have an understanding of Sanskrit, this is relatively easy. If you don't understand Sanskrit, you have to try to understand a little bit, because that's when breaking the words will become easier. So I will tell you where to break it. So Bodhatmakam Anupamitam, you can break at that ma, and then put a comma. A comma, you put it, which is to say where you need to pause. Because I can say this whole stanza without stopping. But then when we're chanting in a group, for those of you who came to Lemont, right? If people all start chanting in different ways, then it'll go out of sync. So we have to make sure we're all stopping at the right place and joining at the right place where the meaning doesn't change, right? So when I say comma, that you put a comma there, which means you pause there, right? So, and when I say plus, that means you put a plus to join. And typically end of the line would be a comma, but so Kala Desha Vadibhyam, comma, Nirmuktam Nityamuktam, comma, Nigama Shatha Sahasrena. So when I'm breaking this word into three parts, if you want to, you can just take like a pencil and put like a divider line, because that's the right way. There's three different words in there, right? So it's easy to break it. So Nigama Shata Sahasrena Nirbhasyamanam. So I'll say it once, and then Jyoti and Amuda, you repeat 2 times. Sandhranandavabodatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadhibhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam.
Sandranandavabodatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadhibhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam Nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam. Okay.
2 times,
okay.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jyoti, 2 times, yeah.
Sandranandavabodatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadhibhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam Nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam.
सान्द्रानन्दावबोधात्मकम् अनुपमितं कालदेशावधिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भाष्यमानम्. Oh, no, सान्द्रानन्दावबोधात्मकम् अनुपमितं कालदेशावधिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भाष्यमानम्.
अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे कम punarurupurushartatmakam. So you can't quite break it, but you can say punarurupurushartatmakam brahma tattvam, comma tattavat bhati sakshat guru pavana pure, comma hanta, another comma, because like I said, it's like an exclamation mark which is coming there. So hanta, comma bhagyam jananam. Sorry, go ahead.
அந்த புருஷார்த்த ஆத்மகம் அதாக்கும் அந்த ரெண்டு வேர்ட்ஸ் புருஷார்த்த ஆத்மகத்துல
Purushartha Atmakam. Those are the two words, but because the anytime it comes, you have to say it together. It just becomes one long word, that's all.
Okay.
Aspashtam drishtamatre punaruru purushartha atmakam brahma tattvam tattavad bhadi sakshat guru pavana pure hanta bhagyam jananam.
अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानाम्. अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानाम्.
अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावत् भाति साक्षात् गुरुभवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानाम्.
After hanta, there's a pause. So hanta.
अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावत् भाति साक्षात् गुरुभवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानाम्.
Since we have 5 more minutes, I'm just going to say the meaning of the second. We'll learn second in the next class. We may not have time for it. Evam durlabhya vastunyapi सुलभतया हस्तलब्धे यदन्यते तन्वा वाचादिया वा भजति बत जनः क्षुद्रतैव स्फुटेह्यम् एते तावत् वयं तु स्थिरतरमनसा विश्वपीडापहत्यै निःशेषात्मानमेनं गुरुपवनपुराधीशमेव आश्रयामः. She says this vastu, which is the Brahman, which is now being handed on a silver platter to us right in front of us as Guruvayurappan. He says, which is such a rare thing, which is so incomprehensible, even though it's easily accessible. He says, how are we not paying attention to it? It's like sometimes we tell our kids, like you have so much access to information in your fingertips. It was so hard when we were growing up, but still you are sitting and wasting your time. You're not putting it to use. Which is exactly what Bhadrapad is saying. You have access to Brahman sitting in front of you in Guruvayur, but still through tanva, vacha, dhiya, through your mind, your speech and your body, you still pay attention to a lot of other material things instead of paying attention to this Guruvayurappan, right? And you run after a lot of material things thinking happiness is going to come from that. However, he says that's all going to be temporary, because the word happiness itself is temporary, because the moment you take away that vastu, the happiness goes away. It's always bound to something. He says the only way you'll realize that supreme bliss is by completely surrendering to this Guruvayurappan. And once you do that, that's when you're going to get liberated from the bondage, and that's going to be everlasting and unlimited happiness, right? He says, however, he says your devotees of Guruvayurappa, he says your devotees of Guruvayurappa, including all of you, at least 90 minutes a week we will spend doing this. right? So he says that's why, however, all of your devotees, because of the punyam they must have done in their past janmam, have access to you and continue to pray, right? So he says for all of them, he says you will then completely eradicate all the worldly sufferings that they're all going through, right? That's what Bhadrapada is saying. It's handily available, but a lot of people don't pay attention, but your devotees do. So with that, we'll stop today's class. काहेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियेर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everybody.
Govinda, Govinda. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rajesh, I have one question. I was just wondering, in usually the Sunday sessions, how many verses will you go through?
Yeah, so a big chapter like this, we'll typically finish one dashakam, which is 10 stanzas.
Okay.
If you're going through smaller, there are a lot of smaller chapters which are going to come. That we'll be able to typically finish 2 chapters in a class. But a big one like this, we'll be able to finish 10 stanzas. So next class, we'll finish the remaining 9 stanzas. That's the typical scale.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have the hard copy, so I will try to bring by next week.
Sure. Okay. Bye, everyone. Bye.